Welcome to the Mind Like Books podcast. This time we got a real treat meant for you. And to joining me on this episode, it cannot be a better person to talk about this than Chan. Thank you. For the listeners, Chan's face looks so fed up. How are you feeling right now? Share your feelings with the listeners.
I feel like there's nothing to be said.
So on the previous episode, we discussed the infamous genre of romance and subgenre of erotica, and then dinosaur erotica, taken by the T-Rex and such, which I have been reading, and and then they suggested things, and Chan found it. Chan was like, "Oh, you bought Taken by the T-Rex. Look at what Amazon is suggesting." And this book we're gonna tackle today is called Kissing the Coronavirus, which has a cover with a green man kissing a woman, and it's another one of those, like, I don't even know what would you describe this genre to be.
It's just smut.
It's grand primetime schlock and horrible, disgusting bullshit. So, quick warning: if you're disgusted about like anything sex related, just stop listening now. Especially for the I want to say porn section. Especially for the spoiler section.
Also, if you're allergic to anything that has to do with really bad logic and bad science, just don't listen. If the phrase dilithium bothers you, then this will definitely do you in like dilithium. 20 times. From Star Trek.
I don't know.
What? They always say the dilithium, whatever. That's okay, for people allergic to bad science, just go away now. Because this is just really bad.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the writer, we're gonna get into the story, and we're gonna get into the bottom of this and see if it's actually fun. And I'm gonna say this right off the bat. I like this book.
Oh no.
I recommend it. I think this book is what you expect. Like, you know how people have all these joke ideas about like the public reading of 50 Shades of Grey, and then they read like 1 minute and then they're like done with it. Or they read it for fun like a joke, and then they're like, oh, it is too long and it's boring. So this book is doing that, but in a short, concise manner, and it's actually funny, and it's done and over with before you know it. So I think this is accomplishing the purpose of having a joke porn parody like something and actually being funny about it. And it's short, it's not an overstayed welcome. I enjoyed it. I recommend this.
I felt like it took hours to get through.
It's only 16 pages.
Every sentence.
This book
is a struggle.
This book is intense. Like the very first page, you already like, what is happening? It's insane. And I have to say, if you're remotely curious, if you wanna like read, I don't even know, is it porn? I guess it's porn. It's like
what smut? So yes.
If you wanna read like a really bad, like super trash, but actually like fun, like funny, like it's so bad it's funny, and I say go for it. Just read it. Gather some friends, get some drinks, and just read it to them. Don't read it yourself first. Just read it to them first, the first time, and I guarantee you're gonna have a good time. I think this book accomplishes that. Would you recommend it to anybody?
I mean, I guess if you're gonna like play a joke, sure, I guess don't read the title. Just suddenly just start reading it to your friends and just see, like, because they probably be like, what the fuck? What are we reading? So that might actually be funny.
And this, yeah, I think I was going into this and I was like, it's gonna be like the worst thing. I didn't even think we would do an episode about this. We never did an episode about the Taken by the T-Rex book. That's really bad. But this one actually has some jokes that are kind of like fun. So I appreciate it. I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed this.
It's so bad.
It is bad, but it's still funny bad. So it got into Chan's system, and we have to get all these puns out of our system. Might be a pandemic on this episode.
No.
So I did some digging, and I looked up some stuff about the writer. And I found that her name is MJ Edwards, which is a pseudonym, of course. And the real name is Robert Winters. And I was like, so it's her, but it's Robert Winters? So did she have like a sex change? What?
Oh, maybe it's like how I said, like maybe it's like someone just totally different. Like how I said, it says that she lives with her cat's husband, whatever. I think someone's just making a complete like joke of a persona of who would write this, and so they're just the whole thing's a joke. So I can imagine it was a dude that wrote it.
So I went on Wikipedia and it says anonymous writer under the name of MJ Edwards after she lost her job. And then I was looking, so Mr. Robert Winters.
But it could all be fake.
So Mr. Robert Winters, he has a page online and he's like, excuse me, I have nothing to do with this. Somebody published...
You sure he's not trolling you? Like, you know, he's gaslighting you.
I don't think. So on his profile, he literally has an article about, I have not written this. Get this out of... Excuse me, I write exclusively LGBT plus gay erotica. This is not LGBT. I haven't written this. So it's not Mr. Robert Winters. So I looked further and I found some like very short information about the writer. And there is not much online, and it came out in 2020. That's pretty new. The only info that we actually could find was in the book itself at the end. This is a series of books. So at the ends of all these books... How do you like the series, Chen?
I want nothing to do with it.
Do you remember the series, like the first one is Kissing COVID? What is the next one? Do you remember?
No, I choose not to.
What would you call the sequel if you had to make one?
I don't know, Infected Again? I don't know.
The sequel is called Second Wave.
Oh, well, there you go.
How would you call the third book? The finale of the trilogy.
Wait, let me think about it though. Three-way cure.
Oh, that's good. I love that. It's a much better title than I thought.
What was it?
The last one is called The Mutant Strain.
Oh, no, mine's better.
Yeah. So there's also a fourth book that came out 2022 in October, very recently. And it's called Coronavirus versus Monkeypox, a Sexual Showdown.
No.
So I'm not reading that.
No.
There's also a book that came out before that. It's called COVID Claus is Coming to Town.
No, stop.
And on the cover it's got like a green person.
Do not bring Santa into this.
So anyway, I looked into all these books, or the trilogy of the books, and at the end there is always like a note about the writer, and it's also like a...
Like where you dedicate the book
the dedication.
Oh, okay.
There's also a dedication in the beginning of the book. So if you don't have these books, the only thing you can find online about the writer is that she is a ferret keeper, and she's a mother, and she writes to entertain and titillate. That's all you can find online. And then you open the first book, and at the end it says that the writer hopes that you enjoyed this book, and she lives in Surrey with her husband and 19 ferrets. So 19.
But I think it's fake. Like, I think
it could be.
It's fake.
In the second book, the dedication says, "For Richard, stop leaving dirty dishes next to the sink." And at the end of the book, it says, MJ Edwards has fallen lovingly into the role of titillation expert thanks to the response of giving to her first debut book. And she's now a part-time writer, blah, blah, blah. Also a keyboardist in a local church band. And then it says...
That's something.
Due to her husband's infidelity, MJ Edwards currently finds herself single and living with her grown son Richard, who is only partly supportive of her latest career choice.
I'm just wondering how she, writes the books, but she's, good Christian.
She doesn't say she was a good Christian, she just plays.
Well, but...
It's a well-kept secret, because nobody knows into...
Just saying, I don't know if that, just wipes your slate clean, like, of your sins, because you play for the church.
So at the end of the third book, it says that she is a writer, board game enthusiast, trainee exhibitionist. What does that mean?
An exhibitionist?
But trainee exhibitionist?
I mean, she's got to learn.
What?
You got to learn, so she's just letting you know.
Okay. So the third book, The Mutant Strain, came to her in a fever dream after accidentally dropping some of her ferret's worm medication in a glass of rosé.
Mm-hmm. But like, what is in worm medication that would make you woozy?
That doesn't make any sense. And she's trying to date on Tinder, and she had one night stand with a man who spoke through sock puppets. But she is yet to give up hope. So that's all we know about her.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Well,
Yeah, this is published by something called Viral Erotica. Pun very much intended. And then, yeah. So we'd like to give you some examples of what this book actually is about.
There's no we, but...
Okay. But before we get into the spoilers, and the plan is to go over the plot as usual, and we have some examples, and I have many questions that only a woman might be able to answer. So we are get into that and all the nitty-gritty, disgusting details. But before we get into the spoilers, what is your impression? Did you like this book?
No. No.
Did you laugh while reading this book?
Yes.
See?
That doesn't mean I like it.
Would your mom like it?
No.
Oh, okay. No, it's like dirty, but it's not like disgusting dirty.
Well, yeah, but it's like kind of, I don't think my mom, like, just, I don't know if she reads it. Like, my mom reads real books.
Oh, yeah, of course, it's not a real book. It's just more like a novelette nonsense short story.
I know, but I think she just finds it stupid.
It is very stupid. So my question is like, do you think it's for men or women or for nobody?
I think it's for people that want to kind of have a joke, not just like have a laugh, but have someone tell them a joke. And it sounds, the story is like one big long joke you would hear from someone that was like drunk at a bar. Like I imagine, like, you know, a long time ago when people were saying all their fairy tale nonsense, all their like joke bar stories, like this will be the modern times joke bar story someone told.
That's true. It's true. So do you think it's intentionally self-aware, or is it like bad because it's badly written?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, it could be that this whole thing is very like real, like this lady is very proud of her work, or it literally could be that this Robert Winters really did. It is not, but like I said, he could be a creative genius and just nuts at the same time, and it's his work. And he made a whole joke, and he, like, to double on the joke, he's doing the whole, what's that guy that was that famous comedian that was absolutely ridiculous but really stayed in his like personas, like
Andy Kaufman?
Yeah, like maybe he's pulling like an amateur Andy Kaufman, like
that'd be cool. I think this book is very much self-aware and very much going for the joke too hard. Pun intended as well, and also it's somehow succeeding to be actually funny. So it's like a mind duck to me, because I expected it to be just trash and boring and not amusing at all, and it was actually amusing even though it was self-aware. Like,
but
to go for a joke.
Trash. It's not boring. Like it's not boring. Like lots of romance novels are boring, but that's because it's set in like medieval times or something, and it's always the exact same story. Like there's no comedy in it.
Yeah.
This has comedy in it, and it's not in a boring setting.
It's like going for it 100%, turn to 11 the first page, and it's just going. So I appreciate it. It was like so much going on. Another thing I want to quickly ask you is, do you feel like in our age nowadays it's a big deal to publish a book? In the past it was a big deal, but I feel like nowadays is publishing a book basically the same like writing a blog now? Like, can anybody just publish a book like this?
Anyone could always just publish a book.
But it used to be an expensive thing.
Well, yeah, like a long time ago, yeah. I think even now it costs you a little bit, but depends on what publisher you're going through. For instance, if it's a famous publisher and you're trying to get them to publish, but they're not that interested in you, yeah, it's going to cost you to get them to do it. But you can get anything published in the quite cheap prices, depending on what it is. Like Amazon, I think you can get them to publish something for really cheap.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, or even a big deal necessarily back in the day, not like really far back. So, I mean, it's one thing if someone's willing to print your books, not just publish, but to print them. But maybe that means you succeeded if they'll print it. Yeah. Publishing it, it's kind of different, I think.
So do you think this actually makes money? Like, do people buy this?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I guess maybe they do, like, enough people, but not enough to make it their living. It doesn't seem like they're real enough, and it's not really a like a friendly genre that anyone's just gonna read. I'm sure lots of people are curious, but again, not enough to like make you rich. Just like, you know, they made something off it. Like maybe they broke even or paid for a nice VIP Disney trip.
Okay. I'm sure somebody's made money out of this, like the people manufacturing sanitizing gel who are rubbing their hands together.
No. I mean, it's like saying does a romance novel make money? Like, those are a bunch of, like, crap, and lots of people buy these, like, oh, it's just $1, let me just read this. So, like, it makes money, but it's very random.
Yeah. So I'll have to, like I said, get this out of my system, and I have to do the best so I don't have any more chills, and I can just, you know, get through this. So, one last warning before the spoilers. We're gonna describe sexual scenes if you're uncomfortable about that.
There's no we.
You might need to re-wax after this.
No.
Let's get into the thick plot. Do you remember how the book starts?
No.
You
I
know?
remember, like, her in a room with the tube.
Exactly, right. Right off the bat, she's a scientist, Alexa.
There's a woman, her name is Alexa, and she's a scientist.
Yeah, and she's testing COVID vaccines. And she has like a vial, like a test tube of a COVID sample. And it's very arousing for her for some reason. She's got all kinds of thoughts about pleasuring herself with the test tube because COVID samples are sexy. So she tries to like masturbate with it, but then the coworker comes in the room, so she pretends like nothing happened. The coworker, it's already ridiculous. And the coworker's name is Dr. Gerchichin.
He does have like a crazy name for like, I don't know, it's like Gertlichend. Gertlichend. I don't know what this is.
Dr. Gertlichend comes in and he has a mustache. And the main character looks at him and she's like, yeah, she's so boring and I can't deal with this and I haven't had sex for such a long time, so I might go with him, but I can't because he only has a mustache. And let me read you a bit why this is a problem. So she says that she loves beards and mustaches, but a mustache is only the start of a beard. Like micro penises are just the start of real penises. So if you don't have those, it's not meaningful. So that's why she can't have sex with him. But so she keeps playing with this like test tube, and later on the first page it says that the thrill of looking at the test tube gives her a tickle in her knickers so much. So the playing with the test tube just gives her such a thrill that she feels a tickle in her knickers. And she's been deprived for so long, and yeah, that's just a bunch of bullshit.
But that's like the only funny things in books. It's not about, like, I think the story is like so stupid. I don't even think the story is even funny. It's these ridiculous like lines of how they describe something. Like, why is it a tickle in her knickers? What?
Exactly. All this phrasing is
the phrasing is the only entertaining.
It's ridiculous. The plot is complete nonsense. Nothing makes sense. But yes, you hit the nail on the head. Only the phrasing is fun.
Yeah.
But there is like a lot of it. So, so that's why it was entertaining. At another point, she says that her ovaries clang like cymbals or something.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Like, what?
It's just nonsense. So the plot is that she's doing these test samples and she's trying to like make the perfect vaccine. So she secretly like fiddles with it and she puts a drop of the vaccine. She puts a drop of the virus in the vaccine to make the vaccine stronger. It doesn't make any sense. And she hides it and she like pretends that it's not there so they could speed up the development of the vaccine.
This is the science I was talking about, or the lack of science. Nothing is explained, and it's all convoluted and very ambiguous.
Yep. So Dr. Grugchung comes in.
Dr. G. Which I think that's why, you know what? Maybe this book is clever because you know what? You can't pronounce this name, right? So you start calling him Dr. G and you start thinking of sex stuff like, oh, like G-spot. Like he's going to, like they want you to call him Dr. G. They get you to call him Dr. G.
Maybe. Could be. So Dr. G comes in and he's like, yeah, I'm fed up with this vaccine development. It's taking so much time. So we can't like do these clinical trials taking too long. So I'm doing it myself. And he just stabs like the vaccine in his arm. And and conveniently he picks exactly the vial that she fiddled with. And conveniently it's just exactly there. And then drama. And Alexa is very excited sexually about all this. And she says that her heart fluttered like it had done the time she'd fucked the farmer's cross-eyed son and uncrossed his eyes.
Yeah, that, like, what? But didn't she actually try to, like, stop him? Or at one point, because it talks about, like, she flailed her arms and was running and her boobs were jiggling and her hair was flying behind her.
So anyway, they have a conversation and he says that he might die, but it's worth it. And then they have some jokes about social distancing, and he says that she already infected him with the COVID because she already had it, but she doesn't show symptoms, and it's all drama, and she's like very dumbfounded about it. And he's like, okay, I'm dead to COVID anyway, so I have to take the vaccine. And he falls over and passes out, and she's freaking out. And then for some reason the lights flashed, wind whipped around the lab. And this is the point you were talking about. Lashing Alexa's hair back and forth and shaking her ample breasts.
Never mind, she wasn't even running. Some wind jiggled her boobs.
So what happens next?
No.
You can do it.
No more.
You're almost halfway through.
Oh, God. He, like, hulks out, but, like, sexually. He, like, becomes green and stuff. He becomes the personification of COVID.
Yeah, and why is it green though? Like,
because viruses are green.
Are they?
That they are, apparently. So that's the only color it could be.
So he's like a super green hand, and then he's like super muscular, and he has like an amazing.
Does he have a mustache anymore? I couldn't remember.
He's of course he's got full facial hair.
But I thought like he like had lost his hair or something happened. Like
I don't remember the facial hair, but I think he has like a amazing beard because that's what she gets off. And is it get off on or get off from?
Gets off on.
On. Okay, so she gets off on all the beards.
But he also has like weird things on his like skin and stuff. But like I don't know, she's into it, and he has like a giant schlong.
Obviously.
Which makes no sense. Like you can't even fit a giant schlong. Like never mind.
Yeah, so they describe his body. It's super ripped, and they say. Obviously, he just transformed, even though the guy, Mr. G, Dr. G, was just like, whatever, I don't care for him, but this guy is just amazing. And they say that his thighs obliterated his pants, muscles poking out like a cheeky kitten.
Obliterated. Obliterated his pants. So stupid.
But how is it like a cheeky kitten?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so they start talking.
I guess if you put a cat in your pants, they're like, it's just like rip through them.
That's a good explanation, actually. So he starts talking to her, and he's like, who am I? Where am I? Who is this? And she's like, Dr. G, oh no, you look so amazing. And he's like, who's Dr. G? And then they describe how he talks, and they say, I have many questions about this. They say he has a low groan, almost like a growl. So that's like, and then
one more time.
So that's a low groan, like a growl. And then it deepens and becomes a roar.
Yeah.
So it's like, Is that what happened? And this sound was so powerful that it made Alexa's clitoris judder with anticipation.
Oh, gosh.
So I have many questions about this. What does judder even mean?
I don't even know.
In later parts of this book, her clitoris flounders.
That was ridiculous. Like, what is, like, I know what floundering is, but
So
like,
what is floundering? Please
Because, you know,
explain.
like a flounder fish, like this.
But what are you doing? Just describe the
It's
thing.
just like, I don't know. I'm
Just like bumping
I
up and down?
Well, it's not bumping on anything. I'm just trying to like show the hand. So I have one hand out right now. I'm just telling you how I'm describing this so that Philip understands. So I have a hand out, how a kid might put their hand out, like, give me something. So my hand is like straight out. My other hand, I'm like wavy flapping it onto the other. I'm floundering on my other hand. Like if you imagine a fish flopping around, whatever, her clitoris is like flipping around. And it can't find its bearings, and you're floundering, you can't stabilize yourself, so it's going nuts.
So the obvious question to ask is that possible?
No. And okay, a clitoris is like a very, very, very teeny tiny penis. Does your penis flounder
Yes.
around? But like to that extreme,
Of
like
course.
to that amount.
Obviously, it judders and flounders all over the place.
Okay, but this was involuntary. This was involuntary. So I'm saying, does your penis involuntarily helicopter around?
Obviously. You want to impress a chick? Helicopter dick. So they talk, and like Chan suggested, the tip of his penis winked about the belt line.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. We got like a detailed sex scene, and the sex scenes are like, I didn't have time to be disgusted because it was so stupidly
It was
written.
unreal.
It was like so surreal, really, like
It
so
didn't make
stupid.
any sense.
Exactly. So it's like I don't even know how to feel. Like it's like nonsense. It's stupid, and then
It's like not possible.
It's
so there's nothing to
impossible,
feel about
and
it.
it's like amusingly, hilariously unreal. Like
Yeah, it's just.
so, for example, her breast bounced around like water balloons, glistening in the summer sun, and he grabbed her breast like he was climbing a mountain.
Like, yeah,
I was like, doesn't that hurt? Like
how can both things be happening? Like,
did he like burst the balloons? So then, when she came, she writhed around like a bubble ball with no off switch. So does bubble balls have off switches? What is a bubble ball?
who knows?
What is?
Who knows? But the thing is, who does that? Who's flopping around? You might as well just said she was floundering again. Like, like she's basically a fish on deck, flipping and flopping. Like what? She's having a seizure.
When they were kissing, his tongue was so soft and hot, it felt like a chunk of microwaved fish
Yeah.
sloshing around inside her mouth.
Yeah, that didn't, like, why microwave fish? Like, why does that feel good? I
That's
don't think
awful.
microwave fish that's felt good on my.
That's so awful.
Like, why wouldn't it be something like, you know, anything like else soft? Why fish?
So he also makes sound during sex, and he made a sound that sounded like thunderclap. So his firm hand cracked her against her ass, which already I have problems with. How do you crack her hand around somebody's butt?
Wait, crack?
It
What?
literally says a firm hand cracked against her ass.
Like, it's in a, like, smacked it.
I don't know.
Is that like you crack something? You crack a whip.
I don't know, I guess. And then he grunted like a thunderclap. So let me.
I don't know
Let me
how you
interpret
grunt like
this.
Okay.
It's like. That's the only way I can imagine. I mean, how would you imagine this sound?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so then she was so satisfied after this that she was missing a feeling. She was missing an aching to be savaged vaginally. And then they passed out and rested and slept on the cold tiles on the lab floor, which was very disappointing because it's the end of this so-called book. But I have many questions that haven't been answered. Like, is he going to be killed by the vaccine? Is he the vaccine? Is he curing the COVID? Is he going to survive longer than like a clinical trial period because he's going to just like, it's just like a short time experiment? Are they going to even continue the trials? Is somebody going to accuse him of murder of Dr. G? So I was very curious where this goes, and I know I have to get answers about this plot.
I think I know.
So I opened the second book, and the second book starts with her sliding a sausage inside of her because she was warming it up in a thermos flask for lunch. And then she couldn't deal with it, so she just had to masturbate with the sausage. And there is no mention of any development of any vaccines. So I can't find answers.
But I have an answer. He's Dr. G, so it's like it's like Dr. J, like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So like he's Dr. G,
so he's
Mr.
Okay.
Maybe he can like willingly turn now, or not willingly, but he every time he takes this vial, he's he's I don't know, Mr. What are you gonna call him, Mr. Vibe? I don't know.
Mr. G and Mr. Vibe.
Dr. G and Mr. Vibe.
So we're obviously, needless to say, are not going to read the sequels. But what's your guess happens in the sequel? The second wave.
They do it again.
Obviously. But that's too boring, right? So there has to be something else.
Well, the other strains come. Oh, I just said it's fun. I didn't realize. But the other, there's the COVID-19, then there's like Omicron and whatever, and then there's one of the other strains. Well, I guess the other strains come,
So are they all doing it, or are they fighting for her, or? What's the most sexual thing you can think of? Because if they just switch...
You mean that fits this book?
Exactly. If you were tasked right now to fill it to write the sequel, which is already called the second wave, but how would you make it exciting?
Yeah, like I said, another strain would appear. They get someone else working in the lab that supposedly was also in the lab, but they were like, oh, never mind, we forgot to mention there was this other person in the lab. And then they happen to also take one of these other, things.
Okay, so now there's two guys.
But, yeah, she, tricks him, whatever, into taking it. So then, yeah.
So do they fight or do they join teams?
Who's joining who?
Well, then, everybody's doing everybody.
Yeah, I think they rock, paper, and scissors.
So the conclusion to the trilogy is called The Mutant Strain, which I guess is about their children, because they mutated and had children, and now the children are doing stuff.
With whom?
Hopefully not the parents, but other people.
Well, hopefully not each other. Who else is there?
Well, do
they get out of this lab?
They got out, and it's like.
Do they?
I don't know. I just trying to write the last book. So they had sex and they had a child, and the child went out of the lab and sneezed, and then it spread like a virus, and the whole world was satisfied by Doctor's Vibe's descendants. Okay. So that's about it. About this amazing book. My questions were answered. Thank you. I still don't know what a bubble ball is. And I don't know why I have an off switch. I don't know I can have that answered.
I don't know.
So thank you for joining me on this viral episode. And coming up in the future, we are reading a very special book that is an actual book, about 300 pages long. It's going to be a very special episode because Paul, Christina, Chen, and me are all going to do it. We all agreed. And
did we?
Yes, I have it even on record. I think I recorded it when you said it too. Chen's regretting her choices very much, but it's going to happen. And it's going to be the 365 Days by Blanka Lipinska, which is a Polish romance novel trying to get popular because of the success of 50 Shades of Grey. And it's also a movie, and it's like a long series. And apparently it's really bad. You're going to have to make it through that, and we will report back after that. Any last words?
Don't read this book.
I have a few jokes that I haven't had time to tell you. For example, the World Health Organization announced that dogs cannot contract COVID-19. So, unlike people, dogs were not quarantined, and they were running all over the place on the streets. Can you guess the last line?
No.
Ooh.
No.
Thank you for listening to this very short episode. Rate us on Apple Podcasts and all the other platforms. And on the next episode, we are going to finally discuss The Redemption of Time, the fourth book in the Free Body trilogy. You have asked for it, and we have suffered through it, so it's gonna be much longer than this one.